Talking About My Generation, the podcast with Lee Scriven and Del Bromham.
Hello and welcome to Talking About My Generation. I hope you are well. Del, are you well?
I'm not too bad.
Great.
As I've said before, I woke up this morning, so that was a result.
Bonus.
Yeah.
Who is that man in the mirror?
Yeah.
He keeps appearing.
The man in the mirror.
And welcome. We're going to talk to Tim Searle, who's our guest. We're going to chat to him in a minute after the Beatles quiz, because I've got a few emails saying, don't drop it. I loved it. I'm like, okay, I'll keep it in. And it was only a couple, so I'm not talking a couple not a couple of million.
I did very badly last week.
No,
I'm hoping. I know a
hoping
bit about the Beatles, but
I've been involved in football. There's always a comeback when you don't expect it, So I'm hoping you can hammer them. One of them's pretty difficult, actually, but the rest I'm hoping that you can get this week. But anyway, I was saying, Tim Searle is here. Good morning, Tim.
Morning, chaps.
I'll do a full introduction. I'm the legend that is Tim Searle after this. Right, here we go. Everybody get ready. Let's see how good you are on the Beatles. I like this. And it's mainly about Abbey Road. Okay?
Right, okay.
So you can get that in your mind first. Okay. The cover photo shows the band members crossing the street on a crossing, is it? Right outside the studio. Can you name them in order from left to right? I couldn't do this. I'd got it wrong.
From left to right, George, Paul, Ringo, John.
Yes! 1-0 is one back. There you go. And there's plenty of time to even the scores, because that's 5-1 now. You were 5-0 down. Polythene Pam's brother is a mean old man, not to mention a dirty old man. Whenever she takes him out to look at the Queen, he shouts out something obscene. What is his name? Oh, Del. You can come back to it. I'll let you come back.
I can't think, Lee. I can't think.
It's Mean Mr. Mustard.
Of course, yeah, me, Mr. Mustard.
There you go. Okay. George wrote, I think I'll be amazed if you don't get this. George wrote, Here Comes the Sun, sitting in the garden with a very, very good friend of his who also played guitar. I'm really loading this one up. Who happened, yeah. What was the other guitarist's name?
It wasn't Eric, was it?
Yes, it was Eric Clapton. That must have been a moment. Just sitting there. I mean, it's when you wanted the Beatles to have phones.
Yeah.
And social media, so they sort of went like this,
Yeah.
There's me and Eric writing, Here Comes the Sun, with a glass of wine and whatever. Great stuff, I like that.
He gave him a guitar and also his wife.
Yeah. Here's my wife. No, not literally.
Please take my wife. No. That's not what I meant.
Yeah. Now this one, I will give you 10 extra points if you can get this one, because I mean this is bizarre. Okay, on the cover there's a white Volkswagen Beetle parked behind Paul's head. Conspiracy-minded fans went crazy trying to decode the license plate.
No.
Okay. It's
a G-Reg, isn't it?
Okay. I thought that one might have fucked you. I should have given you like 3 examples, but it's actually, the number plate was LMW 20 if. And obviously when I'm saying the conspiracy, it was about this bonkers conspiracy that Paul McCartney wasn't alive. Right. And he died. And what the conspiracy people, I mean, it's been going on now, isn't it? We all think it's something new on social media, but it was going on back in actually I think it was on ABC News all over America. I don't think it went too bonkers in England, probably because you could just see him if you just went down to St John's Road, to fill it. It was Linda McCartney widowed. That's what they interpreted. What? The number plate. That someone had gone out there, made a number plate, screwed it on. I mean, really. Okay. Now this one's interesting. As you're a guitarist,
okay,
right?
It's a wild rumour.
This is a really good one. In the famous guitar battle, is referenced here, or should we say the guitar solo? In the end, 3 Beatles take turns playing a guitar solo, showing off their unique style. Can you get it? Can you get the sequence? Who played, at first, second, and third?
I think it was Paul, George, and John.
Yep, done it. Oh, that's a bonus point. I'm going to call it 5-all after last week, because I wouldn't have known that one, Del.
I'm just. It's funny because I it is a guitarist thing.
Right, well, that's what I was
They have a
hoping.
different. All three of them had a different approach when they play guitar. I always knew when Paul was playing guitar.
Oh, really?
Same as you. You as a drummer, you would know
Yeah,
the tracks
I
that
suppose I
McCartney
would.
plays drums on.
Yeah. I know what you mean. Yeah, badly. He's a better bass player than he was a drummer. Though Keith Moon actually came up to him and said, this is put to Paul McCartney after Band on the Run come out. And he,
Yeah,
was,
that's
you know,
right,
and he came up to him and go, wow, who's on the drums? Yeah, well, that's me. Yeah, well, that's my Paul McCartney voice. I thought, really? Like, it was okay, but nothing to. I wouldn't have thought it'd have excited Keith Moon, but he was obviously just
well, there you
being
go.
Keith Moon. Right, as I mentioned, Tim Searle. I've got something. It's not AI. I've been on the internet. I've known Tim since he's a baby boy, as teenagers. He was a teenager, I was an old fart, as we know each other, but we've been great friends for a long, long time. But he's been a musician, he plays alto sax, but also, really, he's one of the most, it says here, highly experienced executive producer and directors of award-winning animation films, and as well as pop promos, which I want to talk about with Tim. And so he's been in the game for over 30 years. You may have come across his work. I have, and I have to say thank you to Tim Searle right now for Mr. Bean, because my granddaughter loves Mr. Bean, and we often watch it, and it's great actually. It's one of them ones you can watch as an adult and enjoy. There's a lot of humour around
Mrs.
it.
Wickett's a great character.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Danger Mouse, you probably come across, Unleashed. I Got News for You, still there. Set the benchmark really for what's been going on for a long, long years. 2D TV, which is I believe, Tim, one of the most sort of revered and respected animation programs that's ever been made.
Big audience.
It is. And what you may know as musicians, if you remember Mr. George Michael, Shoot the Dog video, which caused a few ripples. I don't think Mr. Trump would have put up with it somehow.
No,
So I think
barely got put up with at the time, yeah. But
yeah, but we'll come on to that. But as per usual with our guests, we have to put them through the mincer, so you get an idea of Tim's musical taste and influences. But I'm going to bring a little bit of animation into it. Well, first record you ever bought, Tim? Can you remember?
Yeah, I was thinking about this, and truthfully, the first single I ever bought was I Am the Walrus, with Hello Goodbye on the back of it. Yeah. They were dishing them out cheap in what was when Coffridge Close was new. There was like a mini versions of W.H. Smith's on the front bit by the high street, and a sort of shop that sold the papers, but also had a little record department. And they were punting out those singles cheap, like for pence. And I remember picking that one up and taking it home and being a little bit freaked out by I'm the Walrus, but I'm really preferring the other side, Hello Goodbye, But that was my first one. The first album was Tubular Bells.
Wow.
Just because I liked the artwork on the front. Yeah. Took it home and was bemused by it, I remember my dad taking the mickey.
Did you ever play side 2? Because I didn't.
Yeah, I did, because I wanted to get my money's worth. But it was one of those. It was an acquired taste, wasn't it? And I was too young to be stoned. But I believe that's the only way, really, to truly appreciate.
Well, that's the power of I would say the music press at the time, really, because I was into the Who and aggressive rock, really, to put it in a nutshell. I loved all the 60s and the 70s, but I loved the Who and probably Deep Purples and all that kind of thing. But you just couldn't get away from Tubular Bells. I mean, it was all over the place, and I thought, well, like Dark Side of the Moon, really. Luckily, I didn't buy that one because I could just never get into it.
Yeah,
but I was forced, like culturally, to listen to it because all my friends going, you haven't listened to people, you're useless, and you feel like, hang on, I better get in with the gang, as you do,
This came up on one of our previous podcasts, so Tim, it's fine because I could never understand the popularity of Tubular Bells because I didn't buy it, but I think I had it and played it, both sides.
Brave.
And at the time, the 70s, all the musicians used to get together and we'd spend like an hour jamming. It would be completely boring to anybody else. And I put a Tubular Bells on, I thought, this is a jam. You've got a riff and you hang on to
riff
it.
and keep going.
Yeah, that's it. You hang on to it for ages.
And then get a voiceover man to introduce the different bits.
Is it Viv Stanshall?
Mike Oldfield, I can't sing, so we won't have vocals on it.
Yeah.
But no, I never understood that. But it helped to launch Richard Branson's Virgin Records.
Yeah, I was just going to say. I mean, you know,
he was
talk
running
about
around in a
a
van
lifesaver.
flogging records out the back of his van at the
yeah,
time.
yeah. I mean, I did like side one, and I do play it now and again. I do like it. It's a complete piece of work, and if you're just bobbing around and you're on your computer or
Well, I suppose
you're
it's
going for a walk,
It's
because
a
I mean,
moment in time as well, and it takes you back to that. Doesn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah.
And there was a period there, wasn't it, where people, because the telly was so rubbish, really. I want to talk to Tim about that, how great the telly is now compared to what it was.
On the buses, wasn't it?
That's what I mean.
Cool, well, I hate you about that.
That's what I'm on about. So you just went off somewhere, and I think adults, equally, I've got my headphones on here, and they just went off, and it was something you could just escape for, 25 minutes into another little world, which records could do then.
I think it was also one of those products, shall we say, that it was trendy to have.
Yeah, you wanted to,
Have you got
under the arm.
because, have you got tubular bells? I've got tubular bells.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was on about. That's why I got it,
Yeah.
because everybody else got it.
You felt like you
know.
needed to.
A bit like Diet
curious.
Club.
It was curious. I was pretty young. I was about 12, 13.
That's pretty good.
And thinking all the cool bigger kids who were into it. Must be something.
Yeah.
I honestly didn't know anything about it. Took it home. It's like, as you say, it just goes round and round and round.
Yeah.
You think, where's this going?
Well, you can appreciate now why punk became so popular, can't you?
Yeah, you
Yeah,
can.
completely
Same
opposite,
time,
wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely flip, wasn't it? Yeah.
Was there? What was the first band you saw live? And this can be, down the pub or in a scout or
Yeah,
or
well,
whatever.
the first band I saw was the Jam, the Beat
Wow.
Surrender tour, when they were saying goodbye at Wembley, and it was right bun fight,
Was it?
bundled around, and
Yeah.
just it was, it was quite an experience, So that was
a
my
golden
first
ticket.
one.
That one. I tried to get tickets for that. Didn't get any.
Yeah, that's
Remember that?
right at the end, wasn't it? So I mean, the Jam were just such a kind of omnipresent kind of influence on me and
Really?
my friends at the school. Yeah, there was. It was, yeah. But
I think people forget how big the Jam were in the very early 80s. They were absolute. They remind me of Slade, really, in the 70s,
Yeah.
Del, where, America's not happening, for some reason. But in England, they're just huge. I mean, I think a town called Malice straight in at number one.
I have to say,
You know.
as a musician, Bruce Foxton was really on the money on the bass, and I think he gets overlooked a little bit because of Paul Weller.
yeah,
But
and
that
Butler,
was
I
like that
think.
three-piece thing, and when they came on, he was really pumping that old Rickenbacker bass he had. And so, as I say, I think
Good chemistry between the three of them,
Yeah.
wasn't it? Great
Yeah,
band.
yeah.
I saw him at the Rainbow, had my Jam shoes on. Walked down the road, took the wife. Look, I've got my Jam shoes. And everybody had them on, but most people had them on. Get them in Carnaby Street. I think they cost me about 16 quid in the 70s. They felt a bit soft after about 3 weeks. It didn't matter. I had my Jam shoes. And it's funny, isn't it? I wouldn't have worn them around here. So I think people just laughed at me, but you go into London and obviously you could wear them, and it was it was cool. But it was a good gig. I remember they were really, really good, really good.
yeah.
Was there a band, and also I want to come on to like film as well, was there a band that inspired you to sort of become a musician at all?
Well, I mean, obviously there was that sort of semi-mod thing that was going on, maximum R&B, and then you start learning about bands that influenced the Jam, and obviously there would be no Jam without the Faces and Steve Marriott, and you talk about, and you start sort of going down those rabbit holes, don't you? But I think for me, what it was there was at the Great Linford, there was a pub called the Foresters, and they used to have an evening, a dance, like disco. But the DJs in there, they were really great at sort of pushing Brit funk, Brass Construction. Do you remember that? Moving
yes.
On. It was just such a. I remember the whole room just going boom, boom, boom to that, and High Tension. David Joseph. He was that sort of Brit funk thing really made me, this is interesting, you know. And then I remember I was at Stantonbury at school and wandering around the music rooms, and I went into this because we were all sort of like doing sort of post-punk noisy racket because that's what we could do. And then I went into one of the music rooms and there were some kids that I'd never seen before playing like one of the Off the Wall perfectly. And it was like, you can do this. You don't have to make
there you go,
a real noise. You know, that was that was a kind of eye opener for me. Yeah, so
you kind of answered the question I was thinking of asking. You know, you was into the guitar bands, but you ended up doing brass. Yeah, and now you've just answered it. It's something that got you, isn't it?
Definitely, yeah. And also when I was at Stantonbury, you like this one. There's a bloke that lived locally. I don't know. He got bullied into coming to do a talk to us. Bernie Marsden.
I know,
the guitarist, and we were all like, "Yeah, who's this old fart?" You know. and it was in Stantonbury Theatre. We went in, and it was packed, absolutely packed, full of kids going, "Come on then!" And this guy got up, looked like a dad, and he had all these pedals and a load of guitars, just sort of, he chatted to us about what he did, and then he blew our heads off, and it was absolutely brilliant, off the scale brilliant. You know, he was, everyone went out and bought Whitesnake albums. You know, it was just, it was a real, you know, because we weren't into that. None of us were into that. And we all were suddenly, our eyes were open to bluesy, you know, and, you know, and he was a real man at the time. You know?
What a great school. I was going to talk about it, anyway, talk about it now, because you're talking about Stantonbury School. I'm just trying to think back to Leon. The only people who came into Leon was the army to say, do you want to go to Northern Ireland? You know? They knew the sort of calibre of the oiks that were in Leon, you know. Yeah. I mean, I'd have loved Bernie Marsden to come, or any musician to come into Leon. We did have a great music teacher there, Mrs. Cap. She was brilliant and she helped me learn my drums and what have you. But Stantonbury in the 70s, and for the listeners international, it was a new city. And this school appeared, and I had a choice actually. I could have gone to Stantonbury or Leon.
Right.
And the guys I'd already met in my village, we were already going there. I thought, I'll just go to Leon, you know, but that'll do. But it was a remarkable school, wasn't it?
It really was. I don't know how this guy called Jeff Cooksey got away with it, but basically he wanted to create a school. He had been a teacher in the past, an English teacher, and one of his prodigies, it turns out, is David Frost, you know, as in the
David Frost.
The David Frost.
Good evening.
Hello, good evening and welcome.
Yeah. And but he basically was an educationalist, wanted to do a new form of teaching, you know, and it was great. This thing called shared time, where they didn't delineate between the subjects, because life ain't like that. Life isn't in subjects. You learn maths in different ways than, you know, in terms of projects and stuff. So for the first couple of years, there was this thing called shared time, where you basically, it's all messed up and mixed up, and that's a difficult thing to teach. It takes a lot of effort. And so it attracted all these young teachers from all over the country who wanted to join in with this. And so there was a real eclectic bunch of people. And my art teacher was a bloke called Graham Mills. We called everyone by their first name, and there was carpets. That was controversial. Apparently there were carpets everywhere. Didn't want the racket of people down the corridors, you know.
No school uniform as well.
No school uniform. Call the teachers by their first names.
That's it, yeah.
And they earned your respect. You know what I mean? It's just like, I don't give you the big that. You got, you know, you did respect the ones who got it. Yeah. And my art teacher was Graham Mills. My English teacher was Janet English. And those two were particularly flipping brilliant. And it was cool to work hard.
Yeah.
And, you know,
there's some really good personalities that came out of school. Paul Salmon, brilliant photographer, wasn't there? And an endless amount. And everybody I know who went to the school, you know, I'm just joking about Leon, you know. Yeah. I'm making a joke because it wasn't great, you know. It was pretty boring and it was very old school. I'm not knocking the school. It was just an everyday school. But when I bump into Shiny and Des over in Canada and people like that who we know, they really, really, which is very heartwarming to hear that, because a lot of people's school life can be pretty
Grim.
and can change their lives forever.
Yeah.
So what a remarkable school, and I don't know, does Stantonbury still sort of carry on that ethos at all?
I don't think it does. No, I mean, I think it was too strong a source for a lot of people, and I think it would have to be enable it to run as it did when I was there with day 10, week 10 as it turned out, and at the end of the year you did a week of stuff. It took a lot of effort, I think, and I think it kind of jumped the shark, and then it struggled and turned into more of a conventional school now. I think it's just like a normal school.
Yeah,
now.
but it obviously
They've got
played a
fences
part
around
in your.
it to keep the kids in.
It obviously played a part in creating what you became to be, though.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it definitely
Fired up
defined
the artist.
me. Yeah.
In it, in
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
Oh, well.
I mean, like you went to Leon. Like I was living when I was young. I was living in Stony Stratford. The logical school to go to would have been Radcliffe,
Right.
and that was pumping out people to go to Wolverton Works by and large. and I remember that was the number one choice. Most of my friends from primary school went there. And it was pretty controversial that I chose to go to Stanton.
Right, okay.
And then we moved to Great Linford, and it made it easier for my sister. I chose to go there. You know, I remember that as a big. I remember that mum went and had a good look, and then sat me down, and I remember thinking, yeah, I think that would be better for me.
I think as you get older, you tend to forget those moments, because I remember sort of in West London where I was, you know, choosing that school.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's a big deal when you're 11 years old. You know,
Yeah.
it's a big deal, sort of going to that next big school.
You two were lucky. But my mum just had to find a school that would take me in.
I don't know. There's some of our
wasn't.
listeners here will know
Yeah.
of Christopher Wren School in Shepherd's Bush, opposite Loftus Road.
Oh, really?
Queen's Park
I've
Rangers.
seen that.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, I've seen that.
That's where I used to go, Christopher Wren
I know,
School.
yeah, I know
And,
what you mean, yeah.
It was a tough school.
Yeah, I was going to say,
It was a
yeah.
tough school. And I was only little.
Interesting catchment area, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I was only little, so and I actually found that was an education. Found at an early age. If you're funny, the school bullies liked you.
Yeah.
Yeah, humour.
Anyway,
can get you out of
it's
lot of
all
trouble.
about that in my autobiography, which you can still buy
Yes.
on Amazon.
Cha-ching. Okay. I spoke about a band musical moment, but obviously you're a respected animator. Was there a film or an animation film or a film that sort of inspired you to go down that road?
Well,
As
my
an early
first
age?
Disney film, seeing at the pictures, was The Jungle Book.
Right.
And that blew my mind as a little kid. And the drawing, I love the drawings in it. And I've later found out the way they did it was rather than trace the drawing from the drawings onto cell, they photostated the drawings directly onto the cell. So you keep that sort of loose, rough line quality. And I remember really loving it at the time and loving the songs.
And you thought, Ooby-Doo, I want to be like you.
Yeah, we had that and the bare necessities with the story on the other side. And I remember we used to jig around to that.
Yeah, as my grandchildren do. Yeah,
Yeah,
timeless.
The music's
Timeless.
brilliant
Fantastic.
in it, and the characters in it are fantastic, and it's just brilliantly animated by some of the best, And there's one of the leads on it is a bloke called Milt Carl, and I've subsequently come to sort of learn about him. And one of the things he said was, I got accused of being a fine draftsman over the years. I don't think I'm particularly good myself, but what I do is I don't give up on it so easily.
Right.
So I stick with the drawing and I keep at it until it works. And some of the drawings he does are off the scale, and it just. But I do hold with that idea of the whole 10,000 hours thing and all that stuff. The idea that you got to work at your craft, and then so. And the kids show I loved as a child.
Yeah, I was going to ask. I'll
was,
ask Del this. Your favourite kids animated show? Captain Pugwash. You know, yeah, I used to like that. I must admit.
I don't know really. I was mad keen on all the old. Oh, hang on a minute.
Tom and Jerry.
No, I've just
You got it.
remember, I used to like. At that time, there was, I think it was Hanna-Barbera in my era. All of a sudden, started putting on things like
Top Cat.
Precious. Well, it was Precious Pup and Snagglepuss.
Oh, okay.
And Huckleberry. Not Huckleberry Hound. Well, obviously Yogi Bear. Hey,
Yeah.
Mr. Ranger, sir.
Yeah.
You know, Yogi Bear and all those. They were the ones I used to watch as a kid.
Yeah.
But I was even as a kid, and I remember when I first got my first Ferguson Video Star, and my little kids were born. I used to go on and I think it was on Saturdays at about 5 o'clock. They used to have about 20 minutes of old like Bugs Bunny, all the old ones. All the old, they used to, and I used to record them, and I've got
You got them all.
a couple of videotapes, and my kids, because they were looking at the cartoons at that time, they weren't so familiar with like the original Bugs Bunnies and all those, and Wile E. Coyote and all this, and they thought it was great, and they're grown up. And they still talk to me about, do you remember so-and-so, you know?
Yeah.
But I used to love all them. And I used to also love, there was another programme on telly, and I can't think who used to do it, but he used to, like you're saying, explain how they did it. And it fascinated me, the early Disney, seeing like because Mickey Mouse was completely different when it first started, wasn't it?
Yeah.
A completely different looking character. And like how the guys there sort of
Tweaked it.
meticulously drew.
Evolved him.
Yeah, and it fascinated me. So obviously I can appreciate someone like you, Tim, getting into that, but going forward with it.
So yours,
Yeah.
Tim, your favourite one?
Well, the one that really got me going as a kid was Noggin the Nog. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
And it was Peter Furman and Oliver Postgate who went on to do other stuff, but that one really got me going. And I loved the books to start with, and then it was coming to life, you know.
Yeah.
So it was, and it was pretty crudely animated. Those two blokes just did it in their
Oliver
sheds.
Postgate,
Yeah.
I do remember him.
And recently, Lisa and I, my wife, we went to the British Museum to pay homage to their influence, which was the Lewis chessmen. Have you seen them in the British Museum? Worth a trip. They found these chess characters. They're classic. They're brilliant. Well, they're obvious influence for Noggin, but they were Nordic. They were from Norway originally. Obviously, someone took them to northern Scotland, and they were dug up on the beach in the Isle of Lewis, and they're just brilliant. Like they look so contemporary, but they're hundreds and hundreds of years old,
Right.
carved into animal bone, you know. So, so it was Noggin for me, and then obviously it was Tom and Jerry, the old ones, the proper ones.
Yeah.
It had to end with Fred Quimby.
Yes,
You know? And I
yes.
remember not being able to read, but recognise the way that was written.
That's right, yeah.
And it had to be his ones, otherwise you go out and play. Because the later ones were made for TV and they weren't as good. Those original ones were made for cinemas to warm up audiences before proper live action films. So they are funny, proper funny for adults as much as for a
I've
kid.
said before about going to Saturday morning pictures in the 60s. That's what you always had them on there.
Right.
All the cartoons, the Bugs Bunnies.
Full orchestral score.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
And I was always,
Excellent.
and the other thing as well, the other thing that I took from it, you took the artistic thing. Mine were the voices, and I used to like trying to do impersonations of all the voices.
Charles?
Yeah. You bad cat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is there a favourite animator? You got one? There are too many. Is there one that?
well, the
is there a
favourite
current one that you
well-
go? I must see what he's up to, or is there someone that fires you up?
Oh, well, the one that sort of really blew me away that he came to see us when we did 2D TV was Bob Godfrey. I don't know if you know him, but he did like Henry's Cat and but back in the day he was like the man, you know, for doing cool comedy stuff, you know, and he got on the train, came to see us. I went to went to sit in the pub at for lunch in Stoney, and he was really complimentary. You know, he was really fired up by what we were trying to do in terms of animation.
Oh, great.
Well, a comedy show that just happened to be animated. That's what TV was, you know. So he really liked it.
Here's one for you. This is what I tell you. Freddie Mercury is topping the bill on this one. We had a good one from Brent last week. If there was a rock star who passed away, you could bring back, who would that be? We both chose Stevie Marriott.
Oh no, I've written Stevie Marriott.
Yay!
Good boy.
Yeah.
Right. Give your reason and we'll give our reason. Right.
Well, you know, I mentioned that I was influenced heavily by Paul Weller and the Jam. Well, it's like when I saw Stevie Marriott, it's like, I know no one's an island. We all have our influences, right? Yeah. But flipping heck.
I know.
It's just like, even the way he moves, you know,
Yeah.
it is just that Paul Weller just took that and just it just gave it a twist and put it in a slightly different context. And I know that flipping heck, everything we do as artists, we're all pulling on influences, and it's an arrogant person who says, no, I'm completely original, because we're all pulling on stuff. But I think it's fair to say that Stevie Marriott got killed in that flipping stupid house fire at a time when I think the whole world would have gone, flipping heck, you are the man, you know.
Yeah, I think there would have been definitely a resurgence had he still been there.
Well, that's the point. That's the reason why both me and Del, Del's got other reasons as well, but my main reason was that I just felt he wasn't aware how much we all love him and how much music loved him. Because, you know, and I was talking to, who did we have on the show who played, I saw him at the Open University.
Yeah, I remember you saying,
I'm thinking, hang on, this is Steve Marriott. It should be Wembley Arena, you know, or somewhere really prestigious.
I think he upset
and
a few
it's
people
like,
on
he
the way,
was a
didn't he?
tough guy, but I just thought that, and then Adele knew him, so, you know, he was an amazing guy, Adele, wasn't he?
He was actually quite humble, because, I mean, I was brought up in the 60s, and that's when I started getting into bands and things. And me and my mates, we all wanted to be the Small Faces. You know, Beatles, wanted to be the bit, but we always wanted to be Small Faces. And he had that thing where he did the little dance and the clothes and the finger in the air. Right. And I remember one of the times I spent the evening with him, I was saying to him, I said to him, we always wanted to be Small Faces. I always wanted to be you. So on a Saturday we'd get on the train and go to Carnaby Street and go to Lord John, because we'd seen photographs of you standing outside Lord John, because I think they got an endorsement deal with the clothes. And I said yes, and then he thought it was really hilarious, because I was saying to him, hipster trousers with a white leather belt, and he went, oh yeah, that's right, But he was really, you know, you'd have thought he would have twigged it by now. But when I was talking to him, he thought it was amazing that people wanted to be like him.
Yeah.
Oh, no, he was such an There was never a better looking band. End of.
Yeah.
To be honest, the modern movement. Yeah, the Beatles were cool. Who was sort of a bit all over the place. Small Faces.
If you want to see a great performance, listeners, go on YouTube and do a humble pie with the Blackberries doing black coffee.
Oh, okay.
And we've just had 3 cups of black coffee here, but
Okay.
check it out, because the vocal performance on that is something else. And you can see the 3 girls in the Blackberries are doing the vocals.
Right.
He starts doing this vocal thing, and the 3 girls look over going,
Who's he? What a singer. What a performer.
I saw him at Hammersmith
but-
Odeon, right, and he came out away from the mic, walked down the gantry, and was singing, I don't need no doctor, and without a mic in the Hammersmith Odeon.
Right.
Ridiculous. I was thinking, no, that can't be right.
Yeah. Good choice.
Well, I remember seeing a video on YouTube of them doing What You Gonna Do About It, 1965, when I was born, and but you could just see the excitement in the room.
Yeah.
You know, it just they were like flipping heck, new beer,
Oh,
totally.
yeah.
They were totally coming at it from a very what I love. I'm not mad into patriotism and being English or British, but when it comes to things like that, the Kinks, and that peculiar and specific twist on R&B, I just think that's what gives me pride that sort of thing in being.
I'm 100% with you.
You know what I mean? That we have got a particular type of comedy and a particular type of music that is so specifically English, and
it's good examples, Kinks, and on it.
Yeah.
YouTube, mate, I thought he was going to do the PP Arnold one where they do.
That's
Tin Soldiers.
That is special. That is special.
Yeah.
She sang on one of my sessions.
Wow.
Did she?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I think she's fantastic. We're going to talk about done that one. A moment in rock and roll culture you could go back in time to witness. Got the old time machine. You plug it in, i.e. Woodstock, Sex Pistols at Free Trade, or the Jam at the Arena.
Yeah.
Is there a Beatles? Is there a moment in rock history's time you wouldn't mind going back and just witness it?
Well, I was kind of slightly involved. You know your Warped Sense of Human album? I've got a song on that, haven't I? Which is the song from my...
do you mean Music from the
Music
Metropolis?
From Metropolis,
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah.
I've got a song on that which is the soundtrack to my college film. And the singer on it's a woman called Jo Law. And collared her because me and Tobin... We ran the student union at Farnham for a year to get.
Yeah, I want to talk about that in a minute.
And we booked loads of bands, and one of the bands we booked was called The People, and they were like, "Whoa, these were amazing!" And they were a funk band, but these white kids. And Simon Law went on to produce Soul's first album,
Wow.
and I recorded my thing at the place where they did the demo, where they recorded the demo for that. And Jo Law was very much a part of that, and she did some other music after that. But that moment of Soul to Soul, Back to Life, again, another specific twist on Britishness. I really loved that moment in time, and I'd like to go back to that. That was brilliant. I felt like I had a choice at that particular moment in my life to decide whether I was going to go into music or go into animation, and I've always wondered if I could have gone.
You chose well.
You did all right, Tim.
No, but I felt
you're
like
not
I
getting
was on
home
the
at
cusp of
3:30 in the
something.
morning when you're doing animation. I know you got to put it. I want to actually. Why are you
You
on
could have
that?
looked like this. I'm only 30. I'm only 32.
Okay, right. Let's. We've talked about Stantonbury School, and this. You just spoke about university life.
College.
Would you choose to go to university? I'm going to talk about universities, like what you did at university, but knowing the costs now and how fast the world is changing, we're not going to. For those tuning in, we're really aware of what AI is doing to the world of animation and the world of music. But not today. We might just briefly do a few lines, because the reason being I want to do a couple of podcast specials on the impact of AI coming. So if you've tuned in for that to hear what Tim thinks about animation in a deep sort of conversation, that's not going to happen today. But getting back to my point, university life has changed completely, I think, from when you went to university, and especially my friends who went to university.
Yeah.
Do you think you would choose to go to now in the modern world?
Well, 9,000 just to pay the fees, and then your living costs as well. I mean, my daughter's the wrong side of the loan, and it's like her debt, and she's earning good money. Her debt's just going up.
Yeah.
And she's 27, and it's just completely unsustainable. It's a outrage. That whole setup, it's completely wrong, and it's stopping people go to college. And my art school, art college experience was life changing and brilliant. But I don't think I'd be able to afford to go now, and that is something that's crazy, isn't it, for our economy, that we're cutting kids off from being able to improve their lives.
Yeah.
And make something of their lives, and making them play it shorter. There's that university in Buckingham that does 2-year degrees, isn't it? They work all the way through. They don't have the summer holidays. And the only motivation for that is to try and make it a bit cheaper, isn't it? So, I've got to say that my three well, 4 years because I did the student union at Farnham Art College, were great, you know, and as much of it and my learning was about the social side as much as the as the work side.
Grew up there.
Yeah, I grew up there so much.
Yeah, you gave me your voice. I must admit, I am a father, so when I was a father, still a father, and I wasn't too keen on. I didn't feel that university was going to be right for my girls, but boy, was I wrong, because they really, especially my youngest, Faye, like you just said, you know, went into college, you know, as a girl, came out as a lady, kind of thing. You know.
Woman.
Yeah, woman. Yeah, there you go. You know,
Yeah.
so it was fair play to us. I
Totally
owe you
right.
one on that. Am I right in thinking that when you went to Farnham as college, did you go in as a photography student and
Yeah.
you switched?
That's right.
I want to talk about that. So,
Okay.
what made you switch from? And again, I think it was a good choice, as in being 20 years earning a living as a photographer.
Right.
I think you made a fantastic choice. But but photography was very sexy then. It
Yeah.
was really, you know, it's still film. It was
Yeah.
still, you know, the cameras were great and they're
Yeah.
still great.
Yeah.
So I'm very interested. I've never really asked you, as in, what made you make that switch from studying photography to go into animation or filmmaking, whichever it was. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
filmmaking, animation.
Well, you mentioned Paul Salmon. I mean, he was a mate of mine, and he was one of the influences on me, really. But I really, it was, John Henry Barrett as well. When we were at school, he was into photography and doing the darkroom stuff and that. And basically, for me, it just felt like another string to the bow in terms of my art kind of stuff. And I basically got, on my foundation course at High Wycombe, I got right into photography, and I thought, well, this is good. My dad used to work on the River Thames as a lighterman, and I was intrigued by the Royal Docks, because at the time that whole area of the dockland was just
Dockland.
as if they'd just shut the door,
Yeah.
shut the gates, and gone. I climbed over the fence and took loads of brilliant photographs of all this stuff. That set of photographs got me into one of the best photography courses in the country. At Farnham, there was a documentary photography course, really. So, and it was all really quite sort of serious, trying to sort of tell stories a bit, really. Well, I was trying to tell stories, and but then it got sort of like, you'd stick the stuff on the wall, and it would be the people who could talk about it the most, the best, were the ones who were given the bigger marks. And I was like, take it or leave it, because I'm not always going to be here, So, I just found that whole post-rationalising of it all really wound me up. So, and just down the corridor, there was Tobin and all that lot in the animation department having a great time. Having real laughing their heads off and making all these little films, and I thought, I want a bit of that. So, and not least because I was doing like sequence photography, like I would do like that plus that juxtaposition, all that stuff, and I loved the honesty of like that sort of approach, but I just fell out of love with it. So I was captivated by animation. I didn't realise you could do animation. I thought you'd needed masses of people to make it happen. I didn't realise that one person could do an animation. I was like, this is like, my eyes were open to it at Farnham, So it was like, during the student union year, I basically befriended the bloke who ran the animation course and nagged him, because it was pretty controversial even then to change course. Yeah. But then he got me to do some work to sort of prove my sort of like that I was serious. And then for my last year, I did my year in animation. So and
good decision. Good decision. I want to just talk about student union. Before we do so, you were like the band booker.
I was the president of the
president's union where you booked the bands. It was not. I mean, it was still alive then, but in your time, that was a student unions, universities were a lifeblood for bands, weren't they, in the 60s, 70s. You must have done loads.
We did. I think I played virtually every college and university around the country. It was, and there was also kind of back then. It was almost like a ladder of getting big. You know, you started off
Yeah.
with the little clubs, and then there was the university circuit, and you're going back to the Who. They made that very credible. We all, my generation, all wanted to do live at Leeds.
Do you know, I've got an interesting
we played Leeds when that was recorded a couple of months after they'd been there and recorded it, and of course we've gone in and think, and it was like what I said about working in Olympic Studios. You know, you want to go in and smell it, see if you can smell any of that. Oh, I stood here where Pete Townsend stood. You know, it's all that. You know,
I read the other day, going back to what we spoke about a couple of weeks ago. I don't think that's been aired, but we were talking about audiences sitting on the floor.
Yeah.
And apparently that gig, they're all sitting on the floor.
Yeah.
The greatest, it is without doubt, I think, the greatest rock live
Around
album
that time,
ever. It's a bit heavy now, but
everyone
it was
used to
of its
sit
time.
down.
But everyone
Everyone
used to
sit
sit down.
I remember there was a gig in London, the Temple, and that started about midnight, went through to dawn, and we'd already played a club in East London, and you're doing the Temple in Waldorf Street, and I don't know how they used to get away with it, health and safety, because there was no sort of fire exit. Everyone came in through the front, including us and the gear. But the daft thing was, everyone's laying on the floor.
Yeah.
And I can remember walking in with the guitar cases, stepping over people to get to the stage at the other end.
Yeah.
But everyone in the early 70s used to sit down.
They
and
sit
watch.
down, yeah. I remember it before, but we'll come back to that because I'm not sure we did a podcast. We were just warming up, and it's in the archive there, so I won't go too much. There's a great story, I think. I'm hoping you can remember this. That you had many bands, and it must have been good for your people skills, because booking bands and welcoming them and paying them and making sure they're moaning and whatever is great. But I remember there's one story. Didn't someone storm off stage after a paper cup hit him on the head?
Hit him on the head, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Is it John
Hegley?
Hegley, that's it.
Yeah. That's
and
right.
I remember you telling me,
Politicians.
it's always stayed with me, thinking, blimey, mate, you should have played at New Bradwell Working Men's Club, you know, or some of the clubs I played. If it's a paper cup, that was a bonus, you know. Yeah, you dealt. I can't imagine Stray would get anything thrown in, but in the early days of cover bands, you ever had them kind of gigs?
Well, I don't always think you just happen to be a target, because particularly at festivals, the favourite one was either a plastic cup or an empty lemonade bottle that was full of wee.
Oh, lovely.
And that gets lobbed at you. Yeah. Although I must admit, when I was doing the tour with Iron Maiden, we didn't do the Scandinavian leg. The Murder Dolls, which is a band, they did the Scandinavian League. When we came back on to finish off the rest of the European tour, the road crew said, "Oh, thank God you're back." So I said, "Why?" I said, "Oh, they were booked to do about 45 minutes before Maiden." He said, "They only ever did 20 minutes a night." He said they went down so bad. He said people were throwing everything at me. He said, but the only good thing was, he said, one night in, I can't remember, Stockholm or something, they threw so many coins that the road crew picked it all up and went round and had a few beers afterwards.
Brilliant.
Nice one. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll talk about Terrific Phil. I'm not going to talk too much about the collective or the music stuff. You were in a crazy band with me, the Blues Collective. It'd be a bit self-indulgent for us to just wax lyrical about what we did together, but we had a good time.
Yeah, and we booked you for at the college as well, supporting Desmond Dekker.
Yes, that was that's one of my favourite nights.
That was a good night.
When I asked him if we could do Israelites, and he said no, and he just stood at the side of the stage just checking we weren't going to kept teasing with the warm-up. And then we sang with him as well, me and Graham. That's one of my favourite memories, actually. It was a great place, fun. It was really great.
It was what was interesting, because it was right in the middle of the stockbroker belt, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But an art college right in the middle of like the very sort of well-to-do area. But apparently they plonked it there post-68 when all the riots were happening, away from Guildford. It was in Guildford. They were going to put it in Guildford. They wanted to put it somewhere where no trouble could happen, you know. So it was a bit frustrating sometimes as a student to be there in the middle of a very cosy town. But it meant it was a captive audience. all the events.
Didn't go out.
There was nowhere else to go. So basically, all the events were packed, and so you could put a band on no one's heard of, and everyone would be there. Like we had the opportunity to book Erasure as a warm up for their tour.
Yeah.
Where, you know, Vince Clarke, people knew him from Yazoo, but no, who erased you, you know?
Well,
it was there just before, like 2 weeks before, they were
Bang.
right at the top with Sometimes.
Well, that was the magic about colleges, because like you say, you kind of do have a captive audience.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
if
agreed.
you could put a band
Yeah.
in there that no one had ever heard of, but you might actually get fans and people really into the band from that.
Yeah.
And there isn't that anymore.
Is
Yeah.
it? Is there? That's what I want to know. Because again, with the band that myself and Tim were in, that was our lifeblood really. If we hadn't got the university work, I don't think we'd have lasted more than a couple of years. It was just the universities that were so enjoyable to play, to get out of town. I always wanted to get out of town and play it, and it was fantastic, And I just wonder if that still happens. I don't know.
Let me tell you a story. A well-known promoter, and I won't mention his name, decided to go out and do a little round robin up and down the country, and he had meetings with the student union there. And he said he got to one college. He said, and there was about half a dozen of them on the, I think
Committee.
With him. And he said, very briefly, what he said was, what do you do about music? And they just went, DJs. So he said.
DJs.
And he said, well, what about live music? And he said they looked at me like I was an alien. Went, live music? So bands, music. And they looked, no. And it's just not in their thought process anymore.
Yeah.
Shame. Right, moving on. Terrific Films. You set up Terrific Films.
Yeah.
Not in Soho, which everybody was probably doing back
Yeah.
in them days. You chose to do it in your hometown.
Yeah.
What was the big break for Terrific Films? Was it the MTV little promo? I remember that. I remember being excited with you, and I don't want to talk about MTV as well. But what? I mean, it must have been incredibly difficult industry to break through, especially if you weren't in the golden mile, shall we say, of Soho, where the industry was sort of based at that time. But
Yeah. It was a slight. I mean, it was a logical thing to do for me at the time, because there was people setting up graphic design companies, pen and ink, and Colin with his windscreen business and all that. And it just seemed to be something in the blood. None of my family have set up businesses, and I honestly just thought it was. I didn't want to go and work for someone else. I'm going to do it myself, And so there was the Milton Keynes business venture, and I got some help from the Prince's Trust and all that. We needed somewhere cheap. We didn't have family money or anything, so we needed somewhere cheap to do it. So it just made sense to just set up here, So got a cheap unit and did it, And one of the first things was that MTV sting, and you'll remember that one of the things I managed to come up with as part of my moving from photography to animation was I developed this system where I filmed stuff on 16mm, and then I took the negative and I printed up every other frame, and it was then live action within the art context. And so that was a sort of quite a contemporary look at the time.
Yeah, it was.
So I managed to we got work off it straight away. So the MTV sting uses it, doesn't it? And we got, through a friend, we got our show reel to the people who made this comedy show called Absolutely.
Oh yeah, I remember that,
on Channel 4. And that was a lucky break, because they'd done the first series, but they'd realised that Pete Bakey's songs, because they were all like little mini pop promos, were costing a disproportionate bit of the budget, and they couldn't. He basically was told, can't do any more music, and it was like, what? So but then we came in as a cheap solution to be able to do the songs, so we did like loads of animated sketches essentially, and we did the title sequence, which was a lovely title sequence. I don't know if you remember it, but with a big sort of box of things coming to life, and that was the first one. And then the second one was Have I Got News For You?
Yeah.
And it was like, everyone's seen that, haven't they? So
I still watch it now.
yeah, well, he's got a new
I still-
company doing it now. But,
Yeah, sadly, I'd
yeah.
rather your graphics be on, but they are very, very similar. As in, they're paying you homage, I believe, but not as good. But not everybody's at George Michael in their kitchen for a cup of tea, and I can't imagine. I mean, I suppose you were used to meeting celebrities, and very famous people. And I know your personality. I think you're very similar to yourself, where you wouldn't change, but. You must have scratched. I don't know. You must have a little pinch yourself moment when you got George Michael in your kitchen having a cup of tea and you're making a video. Because I love the guy. I just think he's fantastic. I think he's an incredible musician and a lovely, lovely man. Would I be right in saying that?
Yeah, I mean, it was a surprise. I mean, when he phoned up, I was like, I didn't believe it was him because we'd been doing a sketch where we had Elton John, Jerry Halliwell, and him at Showbiz Mates. Just talking nonsense. He really liked that we were taking the mickey out of him, and he wanted to do a song that was pretty heavy, critical on the War on Terror. And he knew that if he did his normal videos, Michel Gondry or something like that, which was all beautiful, and him looking great, that everyone would go, but you can't say anything, George. What do you know about satire or the news, or making a point? You'd never... He was the first celebrity to stick his head above the precipice and be critical of that war.
Yeah, he was, yeah.
The whole premise of Shoot the Dog was in some communities, if you've got a beef with your neighbour, some communities in America, if you've got a beef with your neighbour in some of these rougher places, you don't have it out with them, you shoot their dog to get even. And his contention was that if we were cozying up too much to America, eventually we were going to get it, shoot the dog. Yeah. So, and then 7/7 happened with all those horrible attacks on the tube and the buses and that, and he was thoroughly vindicated. But yeah, going back to your point, when he rang up, I was like, all right, John. I thought it was John Coleshaw having a laugh with me,
Right.
So
yeah.
I honestly didn't believe it was him. Then went to meet him, and it was like, flipping heck. Yeah, as you say, I've met a few people in the comedy world and stuff, but like meeting him was, he had that presence. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
When you meet someone proper star quality, and he just had that confidence of someone who knew that he was capable, and he had some great ideas and great suggestions, and he was great fun to work with. He did promise us all that he was going to take us all out for a big meal, but then it all kicked off.
Right.
And then he went into hiding, and I was accused of killing his career.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah,
I wouldn't
because
have.
it went to start with. It was on massive regular play on all the radio stations, and then all of a sudden it wasn't. Someone had a word.
Someone coughed.
Yeah, and
I wouldn't have.
he really got killed, and so it was a lot of criticism for it, but mostly from Murdoch, who used the New York Post that he owns to say that there was uproar in America, but there wasn't uproar in America. It was only uproar in the New York Post, and so he bounced that to the Sun, and they had a little moan, and before you know it, it's all kicking off. But basically, it was. I saw him on a few months later on that brilliant show that BBC used to do, they still do, called Hard Talk, where they get someone in to talk about something for a while properly. Yeah. And he was on that, puffing his chest out, giving it, I was the first to say anything about it. And he was, a really good bloke.
There you go. You made some promos, Smash. Was there any other bands you did music promos for?
Yeah, we did a few. Yeah, we did. We did. One I particularly liked was one we did for a band called Is It, which was a sort of jazz funk art band. People have gone on to greater things since with that lot. That was a lot of fun, and it still looks good now. And some of the ones that don't look so good. One we did one for Beats International.
Okay,
was, and another one for the Wild Hearts, rock
Yeah.
band, you know. But yeah, we did a few, like a load of them going. Some are artists you never heard of, and we did a nice job for them, but then you forget about it. But we did one for Mike Oldfield.
Yeah. Getting
Yeah.
back to MTV, could you have ever comprehended that they're just not here now?
No, it's mad, isn't it? Because at the time, when
At
we
the
did that
time, it's
MTV
just, like,
sting,
huge.
to do a little sting for him felt such a privilege.
Well, it was
such
massive. I mean, it revolutionised
Yeah.
the music industry, didn't it? I mean,
absolutely.
and the British bands were ahead of the game because for some reason they'd got a lot of videos already done, I suppose, for Top of the Pops and
Right.
regular European things like the Beatles did
Dire
back in the
Straits
day,
one
and
the Sting.
and from what I understand, the reason why that sort of the third British invasion, or whichever you want to call it, and it was huge for the British, artists, was the influence of MTV. But I mean, it's funny that and Blockbuster. I just think, you used to go to Blockbuster and you queue up to pay for a film to have it 3 nights and always forget to take it back because it cost you another free quid. But I remember standing there and it was down at Oldbrook and the shop was absolutely packed. People carrying ice creams out, popcorn. You're thinking, wow, this is
And it was a
this
fun
is a business.
experience.
And then like all of a sudden, no Blockbuster, and then but on a much bigger scale. Hard for the music industry because it did prove it helped a lot of acts.
Yeah, absolutely.
Didn't it? Do you ever get anything on MTV? You think nothing on there at all?
Yeah,
But it's
yeah.
hard to comprehend it. It's gone, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it was just a great opportunity to make a 3-minute something.
Mm.
And and we made there were some lovely videos around, weren't there? Some really cool, interesting looking things, and that helped the artist, and the artist helped the creator of the video, so it was a beautiful symbiotic thing.
Sometimes back in the 70s, I used to get this kind of thing about writing a single. It's got to be like 2.5 minutes or whatever at that time. Do you have, as in your work, do you find it more difficult to do a short promotion or a short product or a longer one? Because you've got to get all that stuff into a little short period. Which is there anything that you think, oh, God, it's only got to be 3 minutes long,
Well, working on 11-minute shows like
Yeah.
Mr. Bean and more recently the Toad and Friends, 11 minutes it has to be.
yeah,
And 'cause quite often when you do the first assembly,
Yeah.
17, 18 minutes,
Yeah.
and you've got to get it down to 11 minutes, and that's not.
you've got to cut that chorus off.
No negotiation. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It has
yeah,
to be that length, and the
So
three-act
really,
structure.
like a couple of minute thing would be like a trailer or something.
Yeah, well,
that's
we
got to
did-
be difficult. hasn't
But it was a great thing. We fell into doing title sequences for shows, and one I'm particularly proud of was one we did for the Two Fat Ladies, Clarissa Dixon Wright and
Yeah.
Jennifer Patterson, and that was, doing something where you're telling a story, you're introducing characters, and you're saying what the show's about in 30 seconds.
Exactly.
That was a brilliant thing to learn that less is more. It's really hard. Economy is really, really hard.
That's what I wanted to hear. I thought so. Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough, isn't it, to do
It's a nice challenge, though, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's a challenge.
It's a lovely challenge. Yeah, no, I like doing that, and I like telling longer stories. That's ultimately why I fell into doing 2D TV and all that stuff. Is because I got fed up with just doing those 30-second things, and felt like I wanted to get out there and tell stories. So yeah.
One piece of traffic that one job that you did a trip you're most proud of, and then we're going to just quickly move on to a little bit of AI, and then we'll wrap up.
Right. Well, the thing that I'm most proud of is a thing we did with Peter Bainham, who's a brilliant comedy writer, and we did I'm Not an Animal. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, I remember that.
It was a brilliant cast. Steve Coogan led it, Julia Davis, Amelia Bullmore, Simon Pegg, people like that. And it was brilliant fun. And about these animals that are bred for an increasingly single society. These animals are supposed to say things like, "Oh, welcome home, you're looking nice," and they're in this inner sanctum of this vivisection lab, and they end up talking about books they've never read and films they've never seen, and much like many people we all know, So, and then one night they get brutally liberated against their will by a well-meaning animal rights protectionist, and they end up being scaring an old lady away. She gets carted away because she's seen all these talking animals, and so they got her house on a farm and have to get on with it. And it was 18 months, 2 years,
wow.
bonkers, 6.5 hours we did for BBC Two, and it was shown once and it's never been repeated.
Really?
Yeah, but people who like it really like it, and I've done various festivals around the world, and then when I drag that one out, people go flipping bonkers.
That's nice.
People who have seen
That's
it.
nice,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah.
That is nice.
Same for 2D TV. That Shoot the Dog I did, it was like huge in Scandinavia. They didn't get it banned there, and when I was at a thing once when I said, and I did this, and they go, what?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So the climate out there's tough at the moment, Tim,
God,
isn't it?
yeah,
So we're not going to go into a deep one, but I think listeners, viewers, although you might be, it is on YouTube, but it's not being filmed at the moment. But it's brutal out there at the moment.
Well, changing viewing habits as much as the technology. It's just anyone who knows that a kid, they're not watching telly like we used to watch telly. They're on their little device and they're watching one thing that they're really into.
Yeah.
Or they're watching someone unpacking boxes, or unboxing something, or something. You know what I mean? I fear for the really little kids who are over specialising too soon, and they're not getting that smorgasbord of stuff where you used to sit and watch something and think, I'm not sure if I'm into this, and that was interesting, and your eyes are open to different
discovery,
things.
Isn't it?
And I think that's a real problem for kids' development, and I think that's a shame.
Well, I think that's a problem for music, as we're sort of music based, full stop. But I'm a great example of it. I'm not really listening to anything new.
Right.
I'm just, on my Spotify, I'll have a Who mix, or I'll listen to this, or that. Whereas
but
before,
don't you find? But I find
I'm not
Spotify,
against new music.
No, but I find the interesting thing on Spotify sometimes there's that thing of like when you're listening to an artist and then they put you onto someone else.
Yeah.
And then I've just got into a band called The Milk. Have you heard them?
Yeah, I've heard the
They're
name.
flipping great, and I found them just through that.
Yeah, that's
thing.
a really good point, actually. Yeah, I do that on Facebook as well. When you like something similar comes, I go, okay,
Right.
all right then. So there are some pluses on it, but you're coming on through, aren't you?
Right.
You must want to do some more work, but the AI is making it difficult.
This is what I do. This is my life. You know what I mean? This is I've been doing it for over 30 years, and it's not just, I never got into it because I thought, I'm going to make a huge living out of it. I'll make a living out of it, and I'll employ people. And I've employed lots of really good people who've gone on to do brilliant things. And it's a team sport, or it was a team sport. And I'm now facing not doing it anymore, and it hurts. You know what I mean? It's just like, I've been acclaimed for doing good stuff, and now I'm looking at doing paint and decorating.
Well, I'm sure your creative juices will find a way in the modern world, and I hope so. And I'm imagine most people know you and appreciate your work. I hope it's not over. But you are dabbling in a little bit of AI, and hopefully in the future.
Well, I'm on a really good, interesting course at the moment, which is backed by Screen Skills, which is for senior people in the industry. And it's bizarre because I know most of the other people in the cohort who we're learning about all the new technologies, including AI, and how we can possibly do it in a ethical way to bring it into the world. Because there's a lot of people doing it because you can, and but I think in terms of the whole of production, the push is on cost. And you can do amazing things with AI, and you can tell stories with it. But it's not the be all and end all, as anyone who's used AI can find out. You get a lot of failures from it, and you have to have something in mind that's defined. And because if you just rely on it, it gives you something you didn't necessarily want, but that'll do. And I think if you've got a plan in mind and you basically, I know people who are now adopting elements of AI, but keeping their eye on the prize in terms of the story structure and the storyboard and the animatic, and they worked out the timing and where the gags are landing and the beats and the comedy and all that good stuff. And the cat's out the bag. It's there, isn't it? It's happening. It's like all the other evolutions of technology that we've faced in terms of desktop publishing and all the rest of it. It's there now. We've got to suss out how to use it somehow, but do it in a way that isn't throwing the baby out with the bathwater.
True, very true.
I think from an outside point of view, I think that it's a danger of making people lazy.
Yeah.
Just pressing the button and doing it, and consequently, and it's slightly ironic, really, people will lose the. It all comes from sort of being creative.
Yeah.
And if you don't need to be creative, I don't think, if you got that, press the button and it will do it for you.
Well,
it's all right if you're going to use it as a tool, but don't let it take over.
Yeah, but that's the thing, isn't it? Though I mean, it's like there are people that are doing stuff with AI by just pressing the button.
Yeah.
And you get something out of it.
Yeah.
It looks very much like everyone else who's pressing the buttons. The ones who are doing it to do where they've got a vision, like the guy I showed you who did that brilliant film about his memory of using the Argos catalogue. That's when they've got a clear vision in mind and they use the AI to make it happen.
Yeah.
And he could have probably made that film anyway, but it would have cost him loads more than using the AI tools, you know. And it's like, I think that's the interesting thing. But blimey, the tools are so incredibly powerful, and you can get some great looks out of it, and it's bonkers what's happening. But you wonder what the motivation of the when they first said AI is coming along and it's going to change things. It can automate things like looking at cancer scans and things like that. Great, let's have it do things like that. But then when it's taken away the process of producing animation and music, it's like, well, no one really, is that progress? I'm not sure, so
Okay, I mean, as I said, we just briefly touched, we had to touch on it because it is a talking point in animation. It's a talking point in everybody's life, mate. We only spoke about it last week. Interesting you pointed, I'm going to end on a little funny for you, which would be nice. Interesting about youngsters holding their tablets and going on their iPads. I've got a little granddaughter, strong beer called Lorena. Okay, and I've helped sort of raise her, really. We've got a really close relationship. Anyway, I was taking her to a swimming lesson the other week. So she has to have the phone in the car, right, and Spotify, so she picks the music, which I'm thinking, okay, quite like that. I'd like to have done that with my dad, that kind of thing. So, driving along and listening to all the K-pop and all that. Anyway, so what I did, as we got out of the car, we were taking her to a swimming lesson, there was a little walk, and because she had the phone, I said, she went to give me a phone. I said, no, you can carry on listening to music while we walk in. And she was like, suddenly 6 foot tall teenager holding a phone. It's amazing, isn't it? What this sort of aesthetic, isn't it? So we're walking along, and this is where the funny bit comes along. She's behind me. I'm just walking in. I can hear the music, so I know she's safe. And she goes, hey, Grandad. I went, what? She goes, when you die, can I have your phone? I went, yeah, sure. Yeah, don't worry about it. And I know she's going to remember that. I know every time I see her, you're still alive. I want your phone. It just made me laugh, and I'm hoping that's made you laugh because it was getting a bit dark there, and we're going to end up.
I don't know about dark. It's just
it's really interesting.
We are where we are, aren't we?
And it's really interesting, and that's why I want to dedicate a couple of shows to it with some. And you'll be come back on it, and we can talk a little bit more about what you've done in your life and what have you. But you should be proud, Tim. You're a remarkable man, very creative man, and I'm sure I'm not alone in saying that you are very well respected. So lovely. Thanks for coming on the show, and thank you, Del.
All right, mate.
And thank you for listening.
Talking About My Generation, the podcast with Lee Scriven and Del Bromham.